We're going live. Hello.
I've changed my mind.
Welcome, BookTube, to our first ever live stream.
And happy Mother's Day. We didn't realize that we'd scheduled this for Mother's Day, so
Yeah.
sorry if we're taking you away from class. But we probably would have scheduled it for another day.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure why I have an echo.
Mute your or turn your volume down. And everybody can still hear us.
Yeah, let us know if you can still hear us, guys. We're using our webcam microphone. We're going to wait a few minutes just to test out the sound, see if anyone else joins in.
So what are the rules for
Years? Hi, Lou.
Great. Hey, Lou. I look straight at the camera. I look straight at the light, and now I'm completely blind.
No, don't look at the light. Look at the camera,
It's too late.
And here's the live chat.
It's just too late. Okay.
So yes, happy Mother's Day to all the mamas and the
grandmothers.
The papas will be next month. So I was going to say mamas and papas.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, I think so everyone can hear us. So we're here to do our wrap up of Agatha Christie's A Pocketful of Rye.
Look at that autofocus and look how well it works.
It's fantastic.
And shout out to John Warner, because he can't be here today, and he had written ahead of time.
Yes,
so John, I got your note. I hope you're doing well.
Yep.
And I hope you enjoy the feed.
Yes, thank you very much for being one of the first people to comment in our chat. Hey, if it's successful, we'll do more.
Jane's here.
Hi, Laverne.
Hey, peeps.
We got 3 awesome peeps in here with us.
This saves you individually, so that's very helpful.
Yes. What do we have to talk about today? So we've got lots to talk about. We've got the book. We've got the adaptations.
We do.
We watched 2 adaptations.
They were both good.
They were both good, and I really enjoy breaking down the adaptations. I'm becoming more of a cinematic person as far as catching these things.
Yeah, I caught her listening to YouTube film commentary, which is my bag. My bag exclusively. I'm like, is there some kind of weird Freaky Friday thing going on?
I don't know what it was. YouTube recommended a director's commentary. This is just a little. We'll get to Agatha Christie in a second.
This is the danger for live screen.
Behind the scenes of the making of the 1970s series Salem's Lot by Stephen King, and I remember as a kid that series.
It's still good.
It's still so good. I have it on Blu-ray, but it scared me.
The book is great.
Yeah. So they were talking about the making of it, so that was interesting. Anyway, all right, here we go.
Amazing how the focus works when the book is not in. Thank you, thank you, Lou. I feel like I have allies that are with me. Bless you.
I don't do it on purpose, Lou.
Hang on. Keep talking.
Or you can put it in front of my face to get back at me.
That's no fun. She'd just suffer in silence and be like, "That's fine. It's okay." And I'd be like, anyway.
Yeah, we're kind of like
chalk and cheese.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Why don't you move in a little bit? You're always a little bit off the edge there.
And I'm wearing my Miss Marple.
Oh, show them a little bit of your face. She's peeking out there. She's like, I'm on the hunt.
Redbubble has Miss Marple garb. Not the hat or anything cool, but just t-shirts. Very, very cool.
Right.
Anyway.
Oh God, I forgot.
Okay, here's the story. Peggy tried a new seltzer flavor.
Oh, it's horrible.
Lime margarita. Not a fan. So I bring her up.
Well, it's not alcoholic, you guys, and so I thought it would just be another lime flavored seltzer. I
bring her up 2 more, and she took the lime out. Welcome to our world. Okay.
That is nasty. I just wasted money on that. Okay, so A Pocketful of Rye.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it my rating, right? Out of 5 stars, I give it a 4.
I'm going to go higher than that.
You liked it even more than that?
I do. I like it very much. And I know the Marple isn't in a lot, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that brought it down for me.
But see, I can argue that even. I can rationalize her absence. But should we do the story first?
All right, so
I'll give it a 4.5.
4.5?
Maybe even 4 3/4.
All right, we're going into
4 3/4
fractions or decimals.
Yeah, we're going into higher. We're going into long division.
No, that is a
new math.
Don't like math. Okay, guys. So this is all about the Fortescues.
Yeah.
So Rex Fortescue.
Awesome name.
Yeah, great name. He's the king of the financial empire. I forget what his business was again. Did they say
he's Logan Roy? And
well, that was going to come.
He was in mining, so we know that he has. I'm assuming several businesses, and now
yeah,
financial empire.
well, his in his counting house. So anyway,
Yeah.
if he's involved in a lot of business deals anyway. He takes his breakfast one morning or his tea, and he promptly dies,
Yeah.
as you sometimes do. I don't know.
God, I hope not.
And
Peggy coughs every time she eats a slice of toast. So
I
it could
do. I
happen.
don't know what is going on with that when I eat
Very-
toast.
But I'm assuming that actually I'm assuming he didn't quite come from working class beginnings.
Okay.
I mean, he's rough around the edges, but that's more of a corporate rough around the edges, I would say. He's a very arrogant guy.
Yes. Yeah, he's very arrogant,
abrasive.
and everyone really hated him, apparently. So
Which kind of sets things up.
it sets things up. So we've got this dysfunctional Fortescue family. So it's headed by Rex, who is murdered. They find cereal in his pocket of a particular
It's a
grain.
serial killer.
Oh man, get out!
Okay.
Did you really just say that? Serial killer. Anyway, we'll keep these like crickets out there.
I would expect nothing less. No, but he's got rice with rye.
His rye in his pocket, which is very odd indeed. We've got the son at home, Percival, who is working in the firm.
Joy.
Yeah, Percival's a real.
And his wife's terribly unhappy.
Yeah, poor Jennifer. So we got Jennifer Fortescue, Percival. Then we learn of another son who is coming in from Africa.
The prodigal son.
The prodigal son, Lancelot.
The black sheep, presumably.
Right.
The somewhat outcast.
Yes, outcast. And not the rap band, but
she said that. I didn't.
Sorry, outcast. Okay.
Serial killer. I get rapped for that.
She gets rapped.
You get rapped for rap.
But oh God, we're going down a very gnarly.
First.
Anyway. So, what is Lancelot's wife's name?
Adele? Oh no, Lancelot's Jennifer.
Pat.
Pat. Okay.
I think it was Pat. Okay, so Jennifer is with Percival, and
That's
Pat.
what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and Pat is with Lance.
Pat
Thank you, Laverne. Yes,
is a great
Pat.
character. I really liked her.
I really liked Pat.
That's
And as we get into the adaptations, I have a lot to say on that too, how those were done differently. So anyway, and then a younger sister.
Laverne's still
Elaine.
with us, which is like a medical miracle at this point. God bless you. Anyway.
Oh, yes. And so then a kind of a single daughter, Elaine, and then the house. What's that? The household is run, or the head of the just running of the servants is a very interesting character, Miss Mary Dove.
Yeah.
She was interesting, I thought.
I thought she'd done it.
Oh, that was your guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because she was so extraordinarily more functional than anybody in their own way. I mean, Rex obviously was functional. He was successful, but Mary just seems to rise above it in terms of even-handedness and just she just kind of capability just kind of pours out of every crack of her. I mean, it's just she just seems very capable, efficient.
She's no nonsense.
No nonsense.
And but very highly intelligent.
Yes.
And she's a match for Inspector Neil. Inspector Neil, yeah, he was really fun in this one. Okay, so as I'm getting into it, so those are the main, I think, the Fortescue books. But then we have Gladys. Oh, Gladys, who was Miss Marple's, not protege, but someone she had trained. What would you call her? Like someone like she mentored her.
That's right. And we've seen Marple with these girls from the beginning.
What I wanted to ask you and our audience is, she was salty and fish.
She was salty too.
Yeah,
can you imagine working in that household and keeping your sanity? That's why I thought she killed them all. She just like one day been like, "That's it. I got a 2% raise, and you can all kiss my lips," and that was it.
Yeah.
And like, who fault her?
Yeah.
On one hand, she was, she was the head of the massacre, but on the other hand, the world's a better place, kind of thing.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yes,
right. Yeah, but Gladys, so she sent off with, Marple's regards, at least they showed that in the adaptation, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So Gladys is there, helping at her new place.
John David's here.
Oh,
Hola,
John.
my friends. Hola.
I was wondering if you would show up.
He's all, ladies.
Thank you. Anyway, thanks for showing up. We've got 4 people here, and this is a rockin' crew.
I'll get
I
some
like
tea
it.
and I'll
I
just
like it
start
small and
pouring.
intimate. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So Gladys is there, and then was there anyone else that you could
There
think
was the
of?
cook. And she was
Oh no,
salty too.
I'm forgetting Miss Ramsbottom. Who was
Yes.
outstanding.
Oh, right, the sister-in-law, wonderful.
The sister-in-law of Rex.
From
So
the
she's
first
the
wave.
sister of his. Yes.
Yeah.
And I love Miss Ramsbottom. She's apparently a religious fanatic.
Completely disregarded. Yeah, totally
I
another
don't
great
know
name.
why they just were like, she is fanatically
She is hardcore, old
religious,
school,
and she plays Patience, which is a card game I've never played.
You've never played solitaire?
Oh, so I played solitaire. I haven't played Patience.
Patience. I know by 2 names.
Has anyone else heard of
I'm going to
solitaire?
the jury on
Patience?
this one.
I've never heard it called Patience before.
Either way,
It
she's
could be
playing
the
a game
same.
by herself, which
Oh,
is
that's
kind of
a great
telling.
name.
It's completely disregarded by the current family.
Yeah, that they think she's kooky.
Rex likes poking the bear because she's a bear. They both are.
Yeah, but she has some great lines, and she's just obviously she just thinks everyone's going to hell.
Go straight to hell. She's just living.
Whoever died had it coming because of their sins. So this Ramsbottom was joyful.
But she still stays there. Charged. Do you know what I mean? So there's a little bit of hypocrisy with her. Just a little.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Indeed. So
she's like, death, shame, shame, and then I'm going back to my room.
And so we've got Miss Ramsbottom as a potential what do you call that? Suspect.
Well,
maybe, but she's kind of old. I don't know if she would have done all that running around. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a lot of movement going on. Yeah. So we had overall in this novel, we had three deaths. Oh, how could I forget Adele, Rex Fortescue's younger wife, the trophy wife. And I love this part in the book. I should have marked the page number down. But Mary Dove, another reason why I love Mary Dove is that she's talking to Inspector Neal, and she's like, well, he married this sexy piece.
I don't think I knew that was from the original text. So
it is the original text. I'm like, man, Agatha Christie back in whenever she wrote this in the 40s.
Like, Grandma, no.
She was just like sexy piece. I was like, all right.
What will they change that to?
1950.
They'll be like attractive and professional or something.
Anyway,
so
I like
that's
sexy
the cast.
piece. That's just me. That's the cast. I think I forgot. I had a cheat sheet up as far as all the different characters, but I think you guys got the gist. You read the book, right? So we can get into. Don't tell the sensitivity reading. That's fantastic.
Sexy piece.
Sexy piece.
Just rename the book that and see the sales.
Meanwhile, yes, Adele is having a little she has a little sexy piece on the side in the person of Vivian Dubois. Another great name. So Vivian Dubois.
So everybody's out for something, or everybody, and in this way, very much, and this is inevitable. I think it really reminded me of success because everybody is putting up with this tool of a guy, because of his strength, his strength, his power, his wealth, his influence, presumably.
Right.
And they're putting up with various levels of crap because in their minds they've made, I guess, the decision that it's worth it, presumably. So whether it's Ramsbottom or Dove or Dell, obviously the kids are in it for a different reason because they want to kind of take over. And then you get Lancelot and Pat,
who kind of show up. And Lancelot claims that Rex has written in a letter kind of hinting that he might want his prodigal son to rejoin the firm.
Yes, and I don't think we ever get Rex's take on it because by that point he's already dead.
He's really gone very quickly from this novel.
Yeah, I actually thought that was a joke. I first saw this adaptation and watching it, I will always remember it. I saw the Hickson version, and I'm dating myself here, with my grandmother when it premiered, and I was about 14. So put the math together on that. It scared the crap out of me. The image of
Gladys.
Gladys's
death.
That was nightmarish.
We talked about that watching it, about what things scared. These were the first time I've seen these adaptations, but anyway,
it'd be creepy. It impacted. And I think the other thing is, maybe I'm skipping ahead, but I do think that the strength of the story and the strength of this family. Like this family, there could have been books written about this family before the novel came along. Do you know what I mean? Before the murders happened.
Yeah.
This family. Did you just do it again?
I drank it again because I hate to waste. I was just gonna drink it. I'm sorry, guys. I was drinking something that doesn't taste good because I don't want to waste it.
And you know what she said? Every time I take a drink, I'm going to be making a face. And I'm like, let's avoid that on the live stream. I know. Let me get you your 2 favorite flavors. And what did you do?
I'm sorry. Brian, welcome.
Hey, Brian.
Please don't spoil me too rigorously. Just kidding. It is whatever you hurl at me and worse.
That sounds.
Were you planning on reading the book? Let us know. Well, you're going to get spoilers here.
Sounds like yeah.
Thanks for opening a fresh lemon lime.
You're welcome. You can't make a face of that. Other than a face of happiness.
Tastes delicious.
But the interesting. So I really do feel like the internet and the sort of the dynamics of the Fortescue family were interesting enough. Just my 2 cents to sort of be self-standing.
Yeah.
Without the Marple to a certain point, and then the murders happened. Then you're like, oh crap, because really everyone wanted to kill this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then along comes Miss Marple, and so I felt like she kind of balanced it.
Mm-hmm. She balanced it.
Yeah, but
well,
it wasn't like moving finger where you're like, oh please let Jane show up.
Yeah,
please, like something has to compensate for this lack of Marple.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm hyper alert now ever since the moving finger or whatever book it was where she showed up super late. Oh, Laverne, thank you. She knows that drink is nasty.
two thumbs down.
I thought it would be intriguing. Anyway, but it's not. It's gross. So I was hyper alert as I'm reading it. I'm like, okay, these characters are interesting. Again, like you, I was having feelings of I'm reading about Succession. Now I don't know how many.
Spoiled on that.
Well, yeah, and I don't know how many other people are aware of the show. It was on HBO.
Still is.
Okay.
It's finishing up its last season now. It's very good, but very hard to watch. You can't binge watch it. I have an extremely dysfunctional family, and I did binge watch it, and then I was depressed for the next month. That's true.
I haven't even finished season 1 because I had to take it in small doses. But it's a very dysfunctional family. Logan Roy is the head of the family, much like Rex Fortescue.
Yeah.
His son is trying, his one son, what's his name in the show? Kendall is trying to live up to, he can never please his father. Okay, so it's one of these things
really
where.
Get the Percival parallel there, but
kind of, they don't really like each other, and he thinks his father is running it into the ground and making a bad business choices, just like Kendall does.
Right.
And okay, so anyway, and then there's 2 sons and a daughter, so it kind of mirrors Succession a little bit, and in some ways. So it's a dysfunctional family, which, let's be honest, if you're reading about someone else's family, it's interesting because it's not you.
I think Anna Kendrick she's really funny on Twitter. One of her tweets was watching Intervention to feel better about herself, and then like in kind of asterisks she put pouring another glass of wine.
Right.
But positive social cause.
Yes. So I was interested, and then by page 99, I was like, still haven't seen Marple. So I was starting to chalk that downward from a 5.
And that didn't even occur to me.
I was going lower. I was like, still haven't seen Miss Marple. So, but then she shows up in chapter 13.
Yeah. Almost 100 pages in.
Yes. What I wanted to point out here, okay. I'm trying to figure out where Adele is killed in the book. Okay, let's back it up.
It's
I'm sure all of you, well, many of you have read the book, but anyway, he's poisoned by something that they decide is called, is called taxine, which comes from a yew tree, and they have a yew tree out in the yard because it's the yew tree lodge. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yep.
So then the thing with Agatha Christie in this book, I have to keep reminding myself every time I start a new one, she just throws dead bodies in, and she's whacking people left and right. I mean, there's a lot of murders in this one to cover up one
in pretty fast
kind of
succession.
Not to cover up one, but to.
Did you see what I did?
I did. Anyway. Oh God, she's funny. So there was a timeline. Give me all the murders. Well, there was a lot.
The dog lived.
That's all that matters, right? I mean, I'm just kidding.
John
Okay.
Wick would say yes.
Okay, so we move into the storyline, and we know that he was poisoned with texting. And he says, so Inspector Neil arrives, and he starts making his inquiries.
So yeah, but even but he dies at the office. But the poison takes long enough that it was given to him at breakfast. So even though kind of Christie makes a show of people pouring him tea, and he gets a specific tea, and everybody in the office gets a different tea, it wasn't from that tea. It was from the preceding breakfast. And so she's layering things in again. She's layering in suspects.
She is. I had to tell you, I thought Percival, even though they were making him out to be the actual killer, I really thought he was the actual killer.
Did you?
Well, but she pulled this trick before.
Yeah.
In The Murder at the Vicarage, where it would seem obvious that the guy, right? Yeah, it is. It is brilliant, Lou.
It
is really brilliant
because it's a family. It's a history of this family on top of its enemy. It's like an intrigue that is then encompassed by a murder.
Yes, yes. And I wanted to read this one section. I wanted to talk about again how Miss Marple, when she does show up, she's just awesome. She, the more I read these novels and I understand Miss Marple's take, she really is. She is not an optimist. When it comes to people and human nature, she is very much a realist, and some say pessimistic. But she's like, well, she would be the first one to say, but the evidence backs up my position more than it does your happy outlook about people.
Yeah, she really does take the little old lady trope. Oh, and she's like, no, they all did it. They basically could all, each and every one of them had killed you as soon as looked at you.
Yeah,
and she has that attitude.
Well, she starts up a. This is after Gladys is killed that she shows up, right?
Yeah.
So Gladys
had written.
Let me just now I have to talk about the 3 murders just to knock those out. Rex is poisoned.
Yeah.
Lance shows up.
Yes.
Okay. Says, oh my gosh, Dad said I could come back, whatever. In short order, the next day or so, I don't know how many days elapsed, but Adele is taking her tea in crumpets or whatever they eat, scones, and she's found dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they have to wait for the toxicity results to come back on that. But that turns out to be cyanide, which is immediate, which means someone was in the room with her or had put it in the tea or in the house. So, okay. Someone in the house is a suspect.
So that the circle has tightened.
The circle has tightened. And then that evening, the cook, what was her name? Crump.
I liked her.
Mrs. Crump and Mr. Crump. Yeah, they were really funny, especially in the adaptations.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Crump goes outside and finds poor Gladys,
who they assume is just just screwing around.
Yeah,
she hasn't gotten this done, hasn't gotten that done, and she's taking mysterious calls in the hallway.
Yes, she does.
She takes mysterious calls in the hallway, and she talks to somebody for like 45 minutes, and then it's like, wrong number, and you're like,
yeah,
not what that was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, so she's found with a clothesline pinned on her nose, which really angers Miss Marple. Yeah. It's interesting what will outrage Miss Marple. She seems to, in these novels we've read so far together, you guys, I feel like she's taken with equanimity of sorts each of the murders. But this one she takes, well, obviously because I think she knew the girl personally.
But it's also particularly cruel.
But it was particularly cruel, and it disrespected her in death.
Yeah.
And I liked seeing Miss Marple be outraged. And like Lou said, she wants to kick ass and take names. So we've got the 3 deaths. Now, to get back to my point about what I like about Miss Marple telling it like it is, she's having a discussion with Pat, who is Lancelot's new wife, after Pat arrives at Yew Tree Lodge. And she's telling Pat about Gladys, that this was really kind of a sad part to read. She's like, Pat asks her, was she a pretty girl? Yeah. At some point she asked her, was she a pretty girl? Because, she thought maybe a man was involved.
Yes.
And Marple says, oh, no, not at all. Adenoids and a good many spots. So I guess adenoids, she means that
snoring, or maybe a nasal voice, or just
okay. And then she says she was rather pathetically stupid too.
Yeah.
I don't suppose, went on Miss Marple thoughtfully, that she ever made many friends anywhere. She was very keen on men, poor girl, but men didn't take much notice of her, and other girls rather made use of her. And then Pat says, it sounds rather cruel. And Miss Marple says, yes, my dear, life is cruel, I'm afraid. One doesn't really know what to do with the Gladyses. They enjoy going to the pictures and all that, but they're always thinking of impossible things that can't possibly happen to them.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's happy, but they get disappointed. So I just thought, she's so philosophic in a way. It's just like, perhaps that's happiness of a kind.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It was just really sad.
She can jump into other people's shoes and imagine the world from their perspective, and then say, well, if she was happy in her own right, like, and then you see all the this again is kind of going to the adaptations, but all the posters and the film posters, and she loved going to movies and this Hollywood dream that maybe would someday happen to her, and it's very romantic. And even when you see, she writes to Miss Marple in a bit of a with the problem that is existing now, because unbeknownst to her, she's met a young man. She doesn't realize who he ultimately is, and even her handwriting is very childlike in the Hickson version, and she seems very innocent in that regard. And it's just, then again, the nature of her death is made all the more cruel. By virtue of that. But I have to say, I do like it when Marple gets angry.
I do like that.
And same with Poirot, just like something just tips over their moral scale. And they say, you know what, everybody really may or may not have a reason to kill somebody. It is not their issue. The issue was, were the circumstances such that you really just aggrieved the laws of society?
Yes. And I think when we move on, when we finish Marple and we start to do our Poirot series, and I think we'll also comment on the adaptations as well. I've learned a lot from watching the David Suchet Poirot mysteries, because you pointed out to me, because Martina's, she's probably one of the biggest Agatha Christie fans, or Poirot and Marple fans. She will watch these things on loops. She's seen them multiple times.
It's because that damn episode scared me so much. Those two episodes, they scared me so much that I had to face my fears. It's the same reason I've watched Cloverfield like 12 million times.
Cloverfield?
Yeah, I hate the monster in Cloverfield. I had to just get over that. And Jaws is the same.
Oh, Jaws I can understand.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm going to watch it until I see it as just a ton of rubber, and that's it.
That'll never happen. You'll never find me in the ocean swimming for fun. Okay, that's not going to happen. So yeah, but I like the outrage that Poirot brings to things. He has a very strong moral sense, especially as played by David Suchet. But anyway, we will get into those when we hit the Poirot books. But so I just wanted to read that, because that little section, that little speech that she gave there on her was very moving. I had a note for later on, and very blunt.
They don't shy away from, oh no, she wasn't.
Is that a British thing or a European thing, or
it might be a generational thing that people just don't?
She's like,
they say what it is.
She was not pretty. She was stupid too. I'm like, oh my god. Okay, so now she starts to, Marple's there on the scene, and she makes friends with Miss Ramsbottom.
They have a showdown of awesome old ladies.
Yes, they do. And she pieces together is she the one that notices the nursery rhyme that's taking effect, or was that Neil and his sidekick? And I feel like I am off.
I know that initially she's looking at the headlines, and then she puts together a little bit from Rex's name. Okay. And but Lancelot's the one who tells her about the blackbird mines, and that really twigs with her. But the difference, but I want to say that she speaks with Ramsbottom. She's now in the house. Yeah. She's now staying with family instead of just getting bed and breakfast by her. Anyway.
Right.
So she's privy to all of the conversations.
She's privy, and she's talking to Inspector Neil. I have it on page 100, as in chapter 14, page 113 in my edition. She asked him at the end of chapter 13, she says, what I mean to say is, have you gone into the question of blackbirds And Inspector Neil looks at her like she is just gone off her rocker, or whatever. And he's like, blackbirds.
I don't think she knows at that point.
But what she says here, she's nodding her head vigorously, and she says yes. And then she recites the verse, which is,
But she doesn't know what it means, maybe.
Yeah, just for the folks out there, because at first I was talking to Martina after, I'm like, how did they actually get onto this? Because I don't even know all the words, and maybe as a kid I did.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Sing a song of sixpence, pocketful of rye. And I think that's the only line I know. Like, so I didn't know the rest.
That surprised me.
Yeah, I don't know 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. When the pie was opened, the birds began to sing. Wasn't that a dainty dish to set before the king?
Yeah.
And then it goes into the second verse. Yeah. Which is, okay. The king was in his counting house, counting out his money. The queen was in the parlor, eating bread and honey. The maid was in the garden, hanging out the clothes. And there came a little dicky bird and nipped off her nose. Yep. So obviously the killer who was trying to, play off of this could nip off her nose with anything. So he just put a clothespin on it. Still very horrible. Yeah.
When does she find out about the first real event? The blackbirds. It's when she's talking with Lancelot, right? And she manages to ask him something about blackbird. He's like, "Oh, blackbird, mine?" And she's like, light bulb. And then he tells her, "Oh, there was that incident. Wasn't it with him? There was this incident when somebody played a and we were
we find out when we find out who played the prank later. To go back to what Lou had said about really a brilliant book, a brilliant story. Think about it. It is because she layered in all of these sub stories
that are related.
Because then we have these weird Mackenzie people, and the lady Helen Mackenzie or someone is in a nut house because. Go ahead.
I think it was a retirement home, but she is suffering from some form of dementia. Not really bad. I think I thought
she lost the line.
Well, she's functional enough to have conversations with her sister or with her daughter, pardon me, to put this revenge plot into place.
Okay. So we get the Fortescue, and not the loony bin. I apologize to a fictional character. I'm sorry.
Because she kind of sets up that plot that Lancelot then slots in his team. Because it's like, oh, murder. Yeah, I can do that.
I guess that's why she included the Mackenzies, is because, we haven't even so we already know who the killer is.
Meanwhile, John's like, shut up. Brian's like, shut up.
I don't think Brian's going to read it, but, I don't know. What do you think?
Very good. It really is very good.
So where was I going with this? So this is the problem with live.
It's actually not. I'd be like, do you want me to edit it? And be like,
she's right.
No, I just put it up.
It takes so long. If I would have a full-time job and everything else, I could maybe try to edit more. I just don't get it.
I think you'd
be writing
another book.
Listen, if I could retire early, I would put so much more work into it. We don't have any time.
We don't have a Rex Fortescue.
We don't have a Rex Fortescue.
But there are two converging.
There's a lot of
really one way or another.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on to keep track of. Because there was the trick with the blackbird and his pie, and he had all. And Rex was alive. He was like, "Who did this?" And people assumed, or they didn't know who did it
because it didn't go anywhere. It was just a one-off kind of event. But then the second thing happened. You think it was related?
Yeah. Right, and then Lance came back, and he's got a beef with his brother Percival,
but he's got a perfect alibi in the first instance. On the second instance, because he didn't do that, he just talked what's her name into it.
What was the second incident?
So the death of Rex himself was due to him sweet talking the maid.
All right, first thing was the pie.
Yes,
and then was the actual murder. We're going to say it right now. So, Martine thought in the beginning it made sense if it was Mary Dove. I think I suspected her too, but then I was like, no. Then I thought, yeah, he was right for her faces. And he was just very unpleasant anyway. And then it was Lancelot, and it's like, yeah, he was all charging to women. Okay, well, that could be or it could have been the daughter. She didn't really play too much. She didn't factor too much into the story, but it turns out that it was Lance. Lancelot. And yeah, he had business knowledge that Percival didn't have about the Blackbird mine. It was actually because you see Miss Marple reading a newspaper resembling the adaptation,
Well,
but
yeah,
something about the uranium deposits in Tanganyika. Pronounce that correctly. And so that kind of turns into like Lance has got an idea, right? But it all comes into like what's Rex's will and who's the residual legatee. I learned a lot of legalistic terms in this novel. Residual legatee was Percival, and that Adele in the will would get all of Rex's money as long as she stayed alive for a month. That didn't happen.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. So Rex is dead by texting. What is the name? Adele is dead by cyanide. Everyone in the house is a suspect. Miss Marple.
Absolutely.
And then Gladys, which was just like bizarre. So Inspector Neal's just trying to find out who the heck.
Trying to even figure out the timing. And then if you're looking for enemies, well, he's got a list as long as his arm.
Yeah.
But it's cool how he covered his tracks, Lancelot. He wasn't there when Rex was killed, and he shows up with this, oh no, I was going to be welcomed. We don't know that. And then he knows this about the Blackbird mines, which of course was the source of the other family.
The Mackenzies.
Because their father had been killed at the household. So they've got to be. Yeah. But what we also don't know at this point is that Percival's wife had been taken care for in Rex's will, because she had gone to Rex for money, and he either guessed who she was, didn't care, and decided that she was taken care of. So in a way, she kind of inserts her revenge plot for her family and gets everything that she wanted. One way or the other, she gets to go off track. She's prosecuted for it.
She doesn't.
She's presumably able to divorce Percival if
which
she
I'm
cares
happy
to.
because she was a very unhappy woman. Percival's bastard. So.
And she now has some financial support behind her as well for her and her family.
Yeah, but in the meantime, she had written a check for £500 to Mary Dove to say, I think they're on to me. Can you kind of throw them off my scent by acting like you might be Ruby Mackenzie? Because the son supposedly killed the son in World War I. That's right. All right. So you see Agatha Christie just kind of throwing these little crumbs out left and right that you start to chase after.
Yes.
And by the end of it, I was in such a muddle. Just like I don't know who it could be. And then as I was reading it, you can see Inspector Neal. He's talking to Marple. So it is Percival, isn't it? And she's like, no.
That's the funny thing is that the investigators are the readers in this instance, going after every crook. Yeah. Marple does very little moving.
She finds everything out she needs to know.
She just needs verification along the way, is what it seems like.
So I was really impressed by that.
Yeah.
She does not expend a lot of energy. She kind of knows what matters and what doesn't, and what's going to throw you off the scent. So
manages not to be annoying about it.
Yeah. She's trying to be very unobtrusive with the inspectors and not to step on any toes and stuff. She's very respectful of their position of authority, but at the same time, she's just got a mind that is just like first class. It's just far and above anything that those guys did. Scotland Yard or CID, wherever they're coming from.
They know that. I mean, the Lord, he recommends. But I do like the different relationships that we're seeing now with each of these detectives going on.
I do too.
Because some of them are older, some of them are more sort of not benevolent, but they're more willing to share with you, and more willing for it to be a team effort.
Yes.
And learn from her as well. Like, well, what do you think?
Right. The only reason why I'm giving this particular Miss Marple this Miss Marple mystery 4 instead of 5 is I'm setting a high mark for 5. I want my socks I want my socks to be blown up with a 5 ranking. This is very strong. I feel like I was really interested in this dysfunctional family. They were really well drawn characters. I guess the timing of Miss Marple's arrival wasn't too late, so that's good. So I really think that I'm still waiting for one of these to blow my socks off. Now, will it be 450 from Paddington this
No,
month's read along? I don't know yet.
I don't
She's
think
saying
so.
no.
I think it might
But
be Mirror Cracked. Let me know what you guys think. That to me is the or Nemesis.
okay.
But I'm thinking for that high water mark that kind of has the big story, like the story plus the Marple characterization.
Yes.
I that's one of them for me, and then the other is probably
Okay.
the Mirror Cracked.
Okay.
Thing.
Okay. I will keep that in mind. In the meantime, for our few folks in chat, if you have a 5 Marple, like the Marple novel that you love the most, or just put in your favorite. I'd love to see what everyone's favorite Miss Marple mystery is out there. So feel free to comment.
For different reasons too. I mean, I just think that I'm really getting a lovely appreciation of not only her writing, but how she differentiates the novels too. And some of them are higher in story, and some of them are higher in overall like creepiness or like whatever the theme is.
Oh, James. Okay.
Yeah.
This is his favorite.
I mean, you kind of can't beat the creepiness of the story. When you attach anything, and this goes for Nightmare on Elm Street Nightmare on Elm Street, the original as well. When you can attach a nursery rhyme to anything and have creepy children singing it, I think your creepiness level just goes straight through the roof.
The goosebumps.
So, yeah, like no, but there was a clothesline and there was a peg on her nose. That's not even,
a peg on her nose.
I see. I waited until now to say that. I was going to make a peg joke.
Wow, so you were like
when you were going to say the next book is a Pocketful of Rye, I was going to be like, and there's a peg in it, and
there's a peg in it. There
maturity.
Was a peg in it. No, we're not. It's no fun to be mature all the time. So
goodbye, Brian.
Oh, thanks for joining, Brian.
Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, be safe out there.
We appreciate
you. All about crazy
Don't
weather.
get any hail damage, please.
Yes, thanks again for anyone who was like wishing us well in the comments.
Thank you,
bye, Laverne. Sorry we picked Mother's Day.
Lovely dinner.
Next time we will not pick Mother's Day.
We'll pick a very boring Tuesday, and it would be wonderful.
We'll do this again for 450 from Paddington. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks, guys. We do.
We just are so
really appreciate it.
It'd be so fun to meet you in person someday.
We run screaming.
Okay,
so then should we talk about the adaptation?
We're about 42 minutes in, and people are.
My weather is bad, and my grandmother's caught on fire. I have to go.
And that was really nice of you to say goodbye, because you can just put out of these without having to say anything. So we're going to talk about the adaptations. Now, I don't know how many of you had a chance to watch them or have watched them in the past or remember them, but so we had 2 versions. The first version we watched had the incomparable Joan Hickson.
No, we watched that. We watched the second. We watched the Julia Mackenzie one first.
Sorry,
and that was a fun part of it. And so I started watching almost immediately. I'm like, theme. I hate the font even. But I will say this. I think Julia Mackenzie did a wonderful job.
I agree.
And you actually re-ranked your Marples.
I re-ranked my Marple actresses. Ready for this?
Okay. Laverne's left and Brian's left, so they're going to be like, "Wait, what happened in our absence?"
So you can come back and watch it later. Scary girl, hey!
Hello.
Even though only watch the BBCs.
They're the best ones.
Well, now we're getting ready to talk about them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm re-ranking the Marple actresses. But Joan Hickson has not moved. She's still at the top. Now, then it was Geraldine McEwen.
Was it though? Or was it just the absence of not seeing?
It was the absence of not seeing McEwen. I called Geraldine McEwen watery eyes.
It's true.
Because that's all I could focus on every time I see her. Someone get her some contact.
I think they put too much makeup.
I don't care for her. But I only saw one with Julia Mackenzie, and
she's in a couple now. Yeah. But this was actually Pocketful of Rye was first, and so and so you see. James, I really do like Mackenzie. So you see like this intro into the cottage and her back conditions by the fire, knitting, and she's listening to the radio, and it's a lovely introduction.
I loved that introduction.
But she also takes it personally, and so you see the hurt and the sort of the anger, and it's one of the things that I really like about her portrayal, and I know that she got some grief when she was cast as the role because they said she was too young. I wish that she had stayed on longer and redone some of the McEwen episodes and even revisit some of the ones that Hickson did, if there were any ones that she didn't do. Because I know that she did some episodes that aren't even technically Miss Marple episodes.
I think I did not like the Mackenzie one. They do it with mirrors because that they changed so much in that adaptation that it just got screwed up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, me too, James.
So okay, so we watched Julie Mackenzie first, which is funny because there's Mackenzie people in the story.
Yes,
that's funny. I just realized this
has to further complicate things.
But I was moved by it. First of all, I like Martine. I did not like the fact that they crammed it all into an hour episode. We're still in my camera just glitched. I hope so. Okay. Still streaming live. Waiting for more storms here. So she was definitely more attractive to me as far as a feeling character.
Yes.
And I really was moved. She showed emotion, whereas I love Joan Hickson. She did not show emotion like Gladys Sista.
She's old school.
She's old school, like British, like button down the emotions. You don't cry.
Yeah.
You just keep it calm. Don't be hysterical. It's okay to cry, you know what I'm saying? But you know how whatever. Those button up British people.
Was she Georgian or Victorian?
She was probably Victorian. She was Victorian. So, or Edwardian. No, he came. Wait, Edwardian. Okay, guys, we're getting off track here, but
she's old school.
She's old school. So in A Pocketful of Rye, I really liked Julie Mackenzie's approach, and there was moments of humor. You know, as she's trying to deal with. Yes, but at the detectives, and
she's always following along, being like, and you. I do ask them about this.
Yeah, and you do realize.
And you bear a striking resemblance to a young Arab friend. And he's like,
oh, I love that.
And he's from Succession too, so that's the crossover.
Oh, well, he's married to Keely Hawes. What's his name again?
Up in Matthew McFadden.
I love him.
Great actor. And Keely Hawes shows up in some Christie stuff
I love Keely Hawes as well. What a cute couple they make.
They're very cute.
So
I showed up in the Met on Spooks or MI5, which is
okay. So it was a really varied and a pretty good cast for the oh, it even had the guy Rupert from Graves. Rupert Graves played Lancelot.
Yes, from Moon with the View and Sherlock.
He also played the role of Septimus Smith. Septimus. No, I'm thinking it's the wonderful Septimus character from Mrs. Dalloway, the shell-shocked World War I soldier. I'll never forget his portrayal of Septimus.
I love his hair too.
Yeah, he was great. So he played Lancelot. He played the bad guy.
And then Doctor Who himself, Peter Davidson.
Yes.
Played Small, whose daughter married David Tennant. Didn't ask me how I know all this.
She knows so much about this
He
stuff.
also played Percival or Lancelot. And then finally we had Lucy Kovu, I'm saying her last name wrong, who was in Maigret and was wonderful as Mrs. Maigret. And she played Pat.
What?
Great cast.
Wait, which one was the Pat that I liked? The more
Lucy
was the one in the Mackenzie version?
The dark curly hair in the Mackenzie.
So yeah, the woman who played Lance's wife, Pat, was great in the Julia Mackenzie version. And she was very sober. She was very sober, very a dignified lady. Whereas in the Hickson version, she's someone completely different. I can say that Martine really enjoyed the woman who played Adele in the Mackenzie one, and probably also in the Hickson one, because you're like, she is just an idiot.
Oh my God!
It's like this bleach blonde.
Rebecca Madley. She's like new Creatures Small. She plays the housekeeper. Yeah. She plays an idiot so well for such an intelligent actress. She's just throwing out her Cockney accent, and she's just going for it. I mean,
yeah, she was
Christie
really
gets the greatest ensemble cast.
She really does. People, I think, are just waiting in line.
They're like, please let me be the butler. Please, I'll be
just anything, give me on the screen.
It's like Ron Salvador, but amazing cast.
And I actually liked the girl who played Gladys in that one, although she's not as well known to you, at least, because in Hickson, Okay, so the woman who played Gladys in Julia Mackenzie's version, she was more of a tall girl, you know,
I don't
a
recognize
little bit
her.
of like maybe some buck teeth a little bit, but a sweet girl.
Yeah.
In the Joan Hickson version, she's very shorter and she's very overweight.
I,
So they make her very two different people, but they're both kind of really, you know, sad stories. I think Gladys is sadder in Joan Hickson's
she
story,
absolutely is, but she's played by a wonderful actress.
who you've known is in a lot of other things,
She's
right?
been in a million different things. She's in
Yeah.
Midsummer Murders now. She plays forensic examiner.
Another show I love. Early days. I love the early seasons of Midsummer Murders. Okay, you keep looking, but anyway, so the pros to the Julia Hickson BBC version was just that Julie Mackenzie's she was very affected by just the sadness of it all. Because at the end of the movie, or the end of the hour, whatever it was, right?
And that bad.
You can't really see
She's
that.
wonderful.
Instead, you're getting this chick. What is happening?
I'm not showing anything bad. It's in that Badlands, and she's absolutely wonderful.
And playing. So I was saying that. So yeah, at the end, she gets home from all of this. You know, they solve everything. Right? They're gonna arrest Lancelot after she leaves. We don't really see that happen in the book, by the way, but we just know that it's going to happen. She goes home and she finds a letter that she had missed from Gladys, and she reads it out loud. And you can see, because in the actual letter at the end of the book, they include the letter at the very end. And what she keys on throughout this whole thing with Gladys thanking her for all of the help she's given her, you know, the last words of the pathetic letter echoed in her mind, because she had enclosed a snapshot of her and Mr. of Albert,
even though he didn't like getting his photo taken.
Yeah, because he had wooed her as someone else at a camp or something, you know, Edward Albert or something. She enclosed a snapshot which would nail the case for Inspector Neal. And it was Lancelot, and she says, these are the words that echoed in her mind. You can see what a nice boy he is. And then Julia Mackenzie she just emoted that perfectly. Like, she was just crying as the rain was falling outside. It's just like, because this girl just didn't know that there's not nice better. People. She just didn't know that people lie to you, and you know.
That's the poignancy of the whole thing. Miss Marple knows all too well,
because she's
men will lie to you, men, women, children, dogs, everybody. She knows, and she couldn't save her. She could only protect her, and hope to set her out into the world with some knowledge and some tools, and just to reinforce her lessons.
It's really sad. Yeah, it was so sad, and so I loved her emotional portrayal of a feeling, of very much a deeply feeling Miss Marple. I enjoyed the cast selections.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the cast. It was a more modern version. I didn't care for the modern font. I didn't care for there was 2 scenes of gratuitous, they're having sex, which didn't add.
So because we watched this adaptation first,
too.
The first one that was animated, the second was Lancelot and his wife. But both times we were like, whoa, because Madly is such a great actress.
Yeah, there was some sexy stuff going on. Like, sexy piece. There were sexy pieces going on in that, and I was like, that's unnecessary. But yeah, that's just me. I'm seeing little stuff.
It was still the scenes with Mackenzie and the it's Cohu. I don't know how she pronounce it, but she is a standout in everything she's in.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but they were great scenes. Those 2 actresses, sure.
So I think, and I want to get into the Hickson adaptation, which was 2 parts. So it was long. It was drawn out. It was what was it was measured. What did you say the other day? It was just like
it was more gothic. I know that that's kind of not the right way to put it, but when I think about the nature of these murders, I think it's just one of the creepier adaptations for sure. And then, of course, the woman who played Ramsbottom has such a.
She had more of a role. Ramsbottom wasn't even in.
No, she wasn't at all.
Okay, so that was another. That was another strike against the Julia Mackenzie one. Although I enjoyed Mackenzie's.
When you cut it down to one episode, in my
Yeah, you shouldn't cut it down so much. But at least they stayed as true as they could to the novel because people had too much fun chopping up. They do it with murder. They do it with murder. I did it again. They do it with mirrors.
coming soon to a theater
Yeah.
review it with its sequel, Tickled by they do it with sequels. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So the Joan Hickson version, two parts,
Yes.
nicely spaced.
Yes.
You feel like you're really like you're living within the novel. It's really takes you all through the novel. It's like watching the audiobook, frankly.
Yes.
Kind of. So Joan Hickson, as always, is just excellent. The guy who plays Inspector Neil is not the handsome guy that I like in the first one.
But he is played by the wonderful Tom Wilkinson,
who was very funny.
who was really wonderful
Yeah.
and was in Full Monty and a million billion other things.
It is meant to be.
They do it with murder.
I
Yes.
keep saying it. I
I
can't
can't
stop.
remember who needs
Help
to
me.
take credit for that because I'll do like a thumbnail or something and I'll put their
I
name on
know.
it so that they're
Was it
getting the
you,
appropriate.
Lou, who said it? I
Said it.
Well, I said it originally. Then
You
someone's
did?
Like,
then Peg's saying,
well, no, I just spoke. Someone said that's actually
That's
a great,
perfect.
great name for our next series. They do it with murder.
Can I say something else about the Mackenzie one?
Go ahead.
Actor with the best eyebrows ever. Oh my God. That old man,
Mr. Crump.
which were they were real. I looked up that actor. I think that was one of his last roles. Holy God in heaven. He would have needed 2 seats on an airplane. That guy.
They looked, each eyebrow looked like 2 caterpillars mating.
That was like 7D, not 3D.
It was kind of gnarly.
They had their own cameos.
Scary. Yeah, it was oh yeah, what was you, Lou?
See, Lou.
You
name is going on the thumbnail.
Yes, they do it with murder.
And they're serial killers.
I laugh at that. Okay, I'm the type that would laugh at a dad joke. So I guess so. But she's actually way wittier than dad jokes.
Not obvious today.
I make the dad jokes and I laugh at my own jokes.
She does.
As you've noticed on this channel. Thank you. Anyway, so the Hickson version, again, a lot of actors and actresses I did not recognize because that was made when?
84.
Yeah, that's
No,
when
I was 14, 87.
Okay.
Yeah,
1987. There were no gratuitous sex scenes, nothing like that had to happen. How did I feel about oh, and Rex Fortescue, he like dies immediately.
Played by the wonderful Simon West, who was married to the wonderful Prunella Scales from Fawlty Towers. And they, for those of you just curious, because they were married for such a long time, and Prunella Scales died from Alzheimer's, so it's kind of poignant that she played Mrs. Mackenzie at the old folks' home or the retirement home, because she was probably just before she saw some decline. But they have a wonderful series on BritBox, America, where they were both avid canal boat. They had a boat that would travel up and down the canals of Britain, and they did a series about that because Simon West, her husband, found that she was actually much more at ease and less distressed and more herself when she was traveling up and down the canals.
I watched part of that with
That's
you.
right. That they had traveled together over their decades together. And so both of them are actually in the adaptations of these. Wow. And then Simon King is in, or Simon West, their son, is in Murder on the Orient Express. So the family legacy continues, but it's just a nice piece. It's the British acting family is a small one, I guess.
Yeah, they're very much so. So
Simon West is a wonderful actor, and that's why I always thought that it was a joke. Like, he can't be dead yet. I mean, because he laughs just beforehand. Do you remember that? Like, he's laughing at how mean he is, or the reaction
it was
to
weird.
giving the secretary some flowers, and I thought, like there's something else going on.
I think they're trying to show how utterly despicable he was.
Manipulative.
Yeah, which you don't really get from the Mackenzie one as far as how he is. Yeah, in the Hickson version, you get to see him kind of at the breakfast table with this little sexy piece of the wife Adele, who's played by someone else who's got a blonde wig on, and I don't recognize her. I didn't care for the guy who played Lancelot. Lance. It was some tow-headed dude and tall guy and I liked Rupert as Lancelot, but because he seemed to have more that charm that was lacking from this tall blonde guy in the Hickson version. But I did enjoy. I was grateful that they included Miss Ramsbottom in Hickson's version because she was a pretty important character, I thought, as far as kind of pointing out some of the morality of the. She was giving insight into the family because wasn't it Miss Ramsbottom who said to someone, maybe it was, I don't know, she was like, Lance was always bad. Like she calls it out, and she doesn't mean like a bad boy. She goes, no, he was bad. Yeah, I think Miss Ramsbottom could see everyone's kind of faults and foibles and sins because she was a religious fanatic who took patience all day, aka solitaire.
I mean, probably if she had like cable TV, she might not have been that unbearable. She just had a little less to do aside from being surrounded by these, awful people.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have loved it if she had been a continuing character somehow, and she and Christie. That's the other thing. I think she bore somewhat of a. I always felt like she bore a slight resemblance to Christie herself.
She did look like Agatha Christie,
and she definitely screams that age when Christie was the same age. I just thought she had a fantastic presence.
Yes.
And it's the one point where like she's not hectoring or she's not lecturing because something terrible really has happened.
Yeah.
And so when she's all doom and gloom and brimstone, it's actually appropriate.
That's right. I agree.
Yeah.
Now, where the Hickson adaptation went off the rails was at the very end because there was no. You don't see Lance and Pat drive off. You don't see them where he admits to her in the car that he did something wrong.
Yes.
And then he yells, loses his head, and then tells her to get out of the car. And then he drives off and then is immediately killed by a lorry. I know that word because of her. A lorry driving down a little English lane, just hit so many guys immediately. How convenient. But so that wasn't in the book. So I don't know why they chose to include that.
Maybe so that Pat gets her happy ending without him.
Well, she didn't look too happy. I mean, she's off by the side of the road sobbing.
But she's also hasn't quite, digested the fact that her husband is a murderer.
Well, what I liked, I might have to say that I actually liked, I like the Mackenzie version for a few things.
Yeah.
And I like the ending of it because you see Lance and Pat standing out there waving goodbye. And this is before she gets home and gets the photograph, which will nail Inspector Neal's case.
Yes.
So, but they're showing up to question him more and keep an eye on him. So he's got his arm around her and they're waving goodbye and he's smiling. And then you see the cops get out and they're approaching him. And all of a sudden you see him just kind of be like, oh. Mm-hmm. And I think that's as close to the book ending that you can get was in the Mackenzie version. I might even have to say that I like that version better than Hickson.
They did a great job. I wonder what a two-parter would have looked like, just out of curiosity,
Yeah. I didn't care for the wife of Lance
that was a wasted opportunity acting-wise.
She acted like a complete ditz.
Yeah, she was a dunderhead.
Pat was very in the Julie Mackenzie's adaptation. She was very much a solid, very sober, dignified lady.
To the point where you're kind of wondering why she's with Lance.
Yeah, because Pat she had lost a couple of husbands.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe
she had a run of bad luck, and maybe I don't know why she chose him.
That must be an interesting parallel with Gladys then. Because if she kind of, after losing, this is just me spitballing, but if she lost a couple of partners and then along comes Lancelot and he represents, he's very good looking.
Yeah.
He represents the golden boy, kind of the same to both Pat and Gladys. Mm-hmm. Maybe in their own way, they reached for this thing that they thought they could never obtain or have a relationship with in real life. And then, of course,
that's something.
It's all a mirage. And especially in Gladys' case.
Yes, but in this case, Lance did love Pat.
Yes,
but he really wanted to get the money and get out from under the thumb of
what was left of his family.
Yes. So I mean, because at first you think, oh, he's not terrible. Yeah, he's terrible when you murder.
He's absolutely
but he did not need to do that to Gladys. That was just shitty.
And the
then,
fact that she didn't know what she was doing, she thought it was a truth serum, like she did it
she
because
was
she believed in these
so,
magic solutions and these magic formulas.
so gullible and
This, you know,
naive, and just knew life kind
she
of.
had no, so when you think about just how despicable he is,
He's very despicable. So,
he's not the obvious worst, but he is a worst.
yeah, like how safe was Pat really being married to this man?
It wouldn't
You
take
know?
much for him to decide, oh, I'll go again, and
Yeah,
now I'm a
and,
new
and if
person.
you have some money, maybe I'll just not make it look like this or that. Because he's the one that put it together in his mind to make it like a nursery rhyme, which at first I didn't really understand. Why would that jump to mind? But that's where, again,
Well, it's the
Agatha Christie layers in these things.
and
You
what
know,
Mackenzie
the
had already done,
Mackenzies and vowing vengeance,
and Rex meeting King, and
yeah, and Percival's wife marrying into the family so that she could exact that revenge from her mother, but said didn't not to kill them, but like I'll just take the money that you owed my dad, our
anyway,
father anyway. So yeah,
and upside he dies.
Yeah.
Rex dies, and so hopefully she
Yeah.
can get away from Percival. Yeah,
Yeah.
good times, happy
So-
families.
happy families. Didn't Tolstoy have a saying about families? Like each family is, every family is unhappy families or deeply unhappy or something like that. Anyway,
But not on Facebook. Everybody's happy on Facebook. I did think that these adaptations were very strong, but again, I think it goes back to the strength of the novel. And to me, this is again, I'm going to say 4.5 stars out of 5, just because there were so many high points. The story is great.
yeah.
The characters are wonderful. The adaptations are great. However, when you slice the pie, unfortunate analogy here, it's a good story.
It is a good story. Or as you like to say, it's a good cracking read. Or cracking
Yes.
cracking story. You said that one time. And I've said it once or twice. I was pleased with both adaptations for different reasons, so I'm glad we watched both.
That's I think the power of it.
Yeah, because I got something. Thank you, Scurry girl.
Yeah.
All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way.
That's very true.
I love that quote. Thanks for looking that up.
And they were unhappy.
Yeah, Google.
No, we
know
know it was you. It's okay.
No, it's you.
Take credit. Go with it.
Go with
Be
it.
modest. Don't be like,
Yes.
oh, it's Google.
Yes.
But they were unhappy in so many ways.
They were unhappy in so many ways, and it's always I hate reading these books where the woman is just married to a man who does not love her, or whatever. It's just like, so I felt really bad for Jennifer Fortescue, nay Ruby Mackenzie, whatever, nay, whatever you
You're
pronounce
the
that.
nice to say nay.
But yeah, and I was hoping that she could get out from that family, because she had said, didn't she say to Miss Marple during one, she's like, I shouldn't have married him.
Yeah.
Like I was nursing him, and when he was in the war or whatever. And
That's the thing. Some people get out and some people don't in this one.
yes.
And it's not because they died or they did. Well, some people have a path to happiness and some people just don't reach it. But I think Pat probably does ultimately.
Pat she'll move on.
Ramsbottom may or may not. She might have the money to
Well,
her days.
she doesn't have many days left, but
Whatever happens to Mary.
But Jennifer was a nurse, and that's something she should. So I think that Julie Mackenzie was kind of urging her to, maybe you should go back to doing something that brings you that type of joy.
And be away from the ties of this family.
Yeah, again, a very toxic family. So I think the story was very layered and rich and intricate, that bringing the whole backstory of the Mackenzie line and trying to place the Mackenzies, not Julie and Mackenzie, but the Blackbird mine owners or the co-owners, that family, placing them as the foils, like Lance was going to pin it on them.
Yep.
Like saying, look, Jennifer's the one that
started
Blackbird.
Here.
It started here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's very clever in this one, and she's
very
clever.
She's very clever.
But it's almost an understated clever. It's who said it? Who said it up here? It's almost an understatedly brilliant story.
Mm-hmm.
Lou, you said it.
It's a brilliant story when you think about it. Yep. And it is. It is. So if you guys had any questions, I'm sure you would have typed them by now. If there's anything you wanted us to comment on, all I can say is I do recommend reading this. If you haven't already, 4 out of 5 for me, 4.5 after our discussion here.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And the adaptations, I'm just holding out for a 5 to blow this up.
See, now, the Mirror Cracked has a few different adaptations because it really is the jewel in the crown.
Is it?
That's what it's generally regarded as. I have issues with the Mirror Cracked personally, but that's just adaptation.
We'll have to we're gonna have to save that for
I think this might be my favorite, just because I remember watching it with my grandmother and me asking a million questions. Why did this happen? Why did they? Who's going to die next? And my grandmother probably been like, why did I say I would babysit tonight? And it actually shocked me that I was as old as 14 when I watched it, because these murders used to really affect me. And so, like, even just playing Clue or Cluedo, as it's called back home.
Oh, this is a great story.
I threw up afterwards because I was like, but Miss Conley died. You know, my dad was like, why is your mother not home tonight? Why am I babysitting? So,
which one is the jewel?
No. The Mirror Cracked, excuse me.
But tell Scurry why you think that one is the jewel in the crown.
Like, when you look at the adaptations, Elizabeth Taylor's in one of the adaptations. Rock Hudson's in one of the adaptations. Angela Lansbury plays Miss Marple in the most hopeless miscasting of this side of everything.
She did a good job.
She's wasted. But you see some Dolly Bantry's back for.
I do like Dolly Bantry.
And so there you have Joanna. There goes. You have Joanna Lumley being Joanna Lumley all over again.
Yes.
And so it is kind of seen as that sort of theatrical adaptation.
But that's not your favorite book.
This one's a great beer.
Okay, so Lou. Yes, love the Elizabeth Taylor movie.
She looks great in it too.
So Martine is saying that so far, or maybe out of all of them,
this would be it.
This is Martine's favorite.
I think
I should have filled it as this. Oh, I should have included that.
I just think that's my favorite. I mean, maybe the list is 5. I think there is. I think this.
Well, this is a good lead-in as we are coming to the close of our live stream. Why would you say that? Like, I'm really hopeful that our next read for this month, for May, is Corbucci from Paddington.
It's good. It's great. It's a great story, but it doesn't have
the toxic family.
It doesn't have the creepiness. It has some weirdness. It has some good characters, but just not as many good characters. This is a bigger story. Like I said, the Fortescues, I feel like they existed before this book, and whatever happens to the family afterwards, hello, Daisy.
Yes.
Come here.
Be part of the live stream, Daisy, and get puppy. I'll show you. Whoa, there she is. She needs to lose a little bit.
Pocketful of Daisy. But I do feel like you just hit it on all levels with this one. Paddington's a great one because of McGillicuddy and Ruth Marple. Yes, and Lucy's really good, and the family's very interesting. Mm-hmm. But it's not as much of a soap opera. Can I say that?
Yes, you can. Because it was kind of a soap opera. This was definitely a family. It seemed like an episode of Dallas or something. Yes. Like Who Shot JR, but who shot Rex? Whatever,
Yeah.
But I'm okay. So I'm curious to see how 50 from Paddington is. So you have. I need to start reading it actually a little behind. Today's the halfway through May. So, but I can finish this in like.
Well, you're always telling people that there's something else going on.
No, I'll start reading this.
You want to the Kraken game?
Yeah, we kind of like it in NHL hockey. We like the playoffs. I like watching those.
Yeah.
And right now, my team is not in it for the last so many years. So I just pick a team.
Of course, living in Colorado, you can't say that you're a Detroit fan.
Yeah, I have a jersey that's in my closet and I can't wear again without being beaten
in the street by neighbors who are good friends.
Yeah, that's it.
Go away. We knew we liked you. I was actually going to call my first Hashik because he was great at grabbing
Oh,
the ball and just escape. But anyway, so I
Sorry,
just
going off
I
track for this.
don't care who wins. I'd like
Yeah, at this point, I'm rooting for Edmonton and or Seattle. I don't want, well, I'm not gonna talk about Maple Leafs.
I don't. Yeah, I also don't believe that like parts of the country that can't naturally have ice
Or snow,
or snow, they shouldn't have
like
hockey
Florida
teams.
Panther, like a Miami hockey team. It just seems
That's just or anathema, which is how I pronounced it for the first 30 years of my life, and nobody corrected me. I mean, so the sober says anathema. I'm like, I think you mean anathema.
I was like, no,
Hello?
I'm pretty
No,
sure I
it's
think anathema. Anathema?
Anathema. She's lovely. She lives up the road.
And did you also pronounce it antithesis?
No, I didn't. Did you pronounce it biopic?
Oh my God. You had to go there.
Sorted.
Yeah, I had someone once. Oh, I had a troll early on this channel that this guy, he's like, oh, he was mean. I ended up blocking him. It's like, I'm not listening. Yes, I said biopic, and it should be pronounced biopic. Biopic. That seems sounds gross. Anyway, we're losing people.
Okay, we're out of
All
here.
right. So anyway, we're not losing anyone. Thanks everyone for staying.
Lovely weird.
Yeah, I think we're
Stone
gonna.
cold weirdos, as they say in Bridesmaids.
Yes, looking forward to going over 450 from Paddington with you guys. Who can't resist like a murder on a train or a
Alfred Hitchcock
she
couldn't.
thinks she sees one. Is what she's saying here. Oh, thanks, Lou.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you guys. Thanks for coming. We hope to have you
Guys.
again next time.
Thanks for offering some
And happy
feedback
Mother's Day if you're mamas.
and Google responses and answers. Thank you.
You're gonna get acne right there. What are you doing? That was like a long kiss.
She loves me.
Goodbye from Daisy.
Well, it's goodbye for me and it's goodbye
And for
for her.
Martine. This was a lot of
Thanks, guys.
fun. Thanks for being so friendly and so kind.
And again, we didn't realize it was Mother's Day, so apologies.
That's probably, yeah.
I
I'll
hope
take
you
a
liked
better
the
day.
book. I loved it.
Pocketful of Rye was a winner. I'm gonna say it was a big,
Annette
big
Badland
winner.
was just scared the cheese out of me as a child. Just really did.
Wow.
As Gladys. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And every time I see her now,
Mhm.
she'll always be on that clothesline.
Oh, poor Gladys. All right. Well, on that note, guys, thanks for joining.
Yeah,
and
thank
you know, whatever you missed, it'll be up for the rest of history. The rest of YouTube, it'll be up. But how do I end these? See, this is the fun part. I really don't know.
It'd be really funny if
Oh,
we
it
just
says
kept
end
talking. How
stream.
do you think we end? Oh, you went right.
Yeah, you could see us coming and going. It would have been a 5-hour live stream.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks
Thanks,
for joining
guys.
us. Thanks for joining this channel, the History Shelf, which should also have an alternate name at some point, the Mystery Shelf. What? I'm sure someone already has that name. But
This is all I did. I'm hearing this for the first time. Thanks, guys. Have
Yeah.
a great rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, enjoy your evening.
And we'll talk
Stay
soon.
safe if you're having weather patterns. We're returning from ours. So.
Yes, we are.
All right. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.